The Red Hood, aka Jason Todd, is a master marksman. He possesses the strength and stamina of an Olympic level athlete, and he's been expertly trained in many forms of martial arts by the likes of Batman and the League of Assassins. His battle experience and years of training put him on the level of elite fighters like Batman and Nightwing. But there's one thing that makes the Red Hood more dangerous than both of them, and that's his willingness to do whatever it takes to win a fight, including the use of lethal force. So pretty much the Red Hood is what you get when you cross a Navy SEAL with a ninja and then dip them in a magical pool full of steroids that make them murder crazy. Doesn't really sound like someone I'd like to mess with. Given his interesting combination of abilities and fighting style, how would the Red Hood train in real life to upkeep and enhance his performance, durability, stamina, and fighting abilities? And how should you train if you want to look and perform like Jason Todd, aka the Red Hood? To answer these questions, we need to start by analyzing how Jason Todd fights. Jason uses a unique fighting style that mixes hand-to-hand combat, firearms, and bladed weapons, and this fighting style makes him incredibly deadly at close, medium, and long range. He'll often engage in a fight from a distance, using long-range heavy weaponry. If this tactic doesn't outright end the engagement, it'll at very least throw his opponent off balance, which gives him the opportunity to close distance and begin using his wide range of medium-range weapons, such as Shuriken, his signature pair of Jericho 941 pistols, and small throwable explosive charges to harass his opponents. But don't think you're out of the woods just because you get to engage him in close range. This is actually where he's the most deadly, because he'll use his mastery of the martial arts to dodge and counter your incoming strikes before creating an opening to attack using his Jerichos at close range, a knife, or just his fists. After he lands a series of shots, strikes, or slashes, he can then return to medium range to continue his assault with ranged weapons, without giving his opponents even a second to collect themselves. The Red Hood, aka Jason Todd's fighting style, is relentless and brutal, but because of his needs for constant movement, this fighting style is not only taxing on his opponents, but on Jason Todd himself. Jason's use of a wide variety of weaponry might make him deadly at every range, but they also weigh him down. I did some rough math, and just between his two Jerichos, a small knife, some Shuriken, and his body armor, he'd be fighting with around 40 to 50 pounds of equipment at minimum. This isn't a ridiculous amount, considering a typical Navy SEAL will carry around 60 pounds of total gear out in the field, but it would still be enough to really put a burden on Jason Todd's cardiovascular system. So that means his training plan would have to incorporate a lot of strength endurance and medium state cardiovascular work to make sure that he can keep up the assault on his opponents without tiring or slowing down. Another big thing Jason Todd would need in real life is incredible shoulder, hand, and core strength and stability to be able to continue handling his weapons with accuracy during a prolonged engagement. If his shoulders and hands start to fatigue, he won't be able to handle his weapon accurately. And if his core starts to fatigue, then every shot will throw him off kilter because he doesn't have a solid foundation and base. On top of this, Jason would also need to train for explosive power and maximum strength, so he can sprint at high speeds, jump long distances, and deliver bone-shattering punches and kicks. If you guys are liking the superhero-inspired fitness videos and want to see me do a video on how to get a superhero body at home, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment super at home down in the comments. Thanks guys. And finally, he would need to do some amount of hypertrophy, aka bodybuilding training, to not only fill out his frame, but also to increase the durability of his joints and connective tissues. The Red Hood can't afford to blow out his ACL while he's taking out Gotham's many crime families. Like I said before, Jason Todd, aka the Red Hood, is pretty much half ninja and half Navy SEAL. So what better place to look for information on how he would train in real life than the Navy SEAL Training Guide? This is a guide meant to help those who want to become Navy SEALs get their physical fitness up to the required level. And to get people to that level, this is the training schedule it recommends. It's a solid mix of strength training, core work, prehab, and 3 different kinds of cardiovascular training, each based on the body's 3 main energy systems. This will serve as a solid starting point for the Red Hood's training plan, but it's going to require a few changes and additions. First of all, the Red Hood relies on hand-to-hand combat a lot more than any modern-day soldier ever would. So his training plan will have to take some inspiration from how pro mixed martial artists train. A typical MMA strength training routine will include 3 main types of movements. Full body explosive movements to build power like kettlebell swings, landmine push presses, or the Olympic lifts. And then compound strength movements to build strength in specific ranges of motion in either the upper or lower body. These movements are things like Bulgarian split squats, bent over rows, or the bench press. And finally, there are isolation exercises to build strength and durability in a specific joint or group of muscles. For this, think movements like quad extensions, Nordic hamstring curls, or bicep curls. Alright, we're about to put everything together and create the Red Hood training plan. But before we do, we know the Red Hood wouldn't be nearly as badass as he is if it wasn't for his sick outfit. And thanks to my partners over at SuperX, you can look just as badass. SuperX are the creators of the world's most comfortable and stylish superhero-inspired workout gear. Their products are exactly what I would imagine superheroes would be wearing in real life, which is just awesome. I love working out in my SuperX gear because the moment I put it on, I feel like a complete badass, and it instantly motivates me to go crush my workout and make something of myself. They're constantly coming out with sick new designs based off all your favorite comic book characters. But if you see something you like, you gotta act fast, because their super suits come in very limited runs and sell out fast. So use the link in my description to go check them out, and then use code DEMERCE at checkout for 20% off your first order. Now back to the video. So now we know how the Red Hood's real-life equivalents train, so it's time to put together his program. For this, I'll be designing a single program that encompasses everything that Jason Todd would need to work on, instead of creating 3 periodized programs like I did for my video covering Nightwing. The Red Hood's training program is made up of 8 weekly training sessions spread across 4 days. I've structured it this way because oftentimes Jason Todd will have multiple missions or operations throughout the week, so consolidating his training down into only 4 days allows him more flexibility with his crime-fighting schedule while still maintaining his performance. On Monday and Thursday morning, he'll perform a general strength and hypertrophy training session. Then that night, he would perform high-intensity cardiovascular training. The goal with these HIIT cardiovascular sessions is to increase the effectiveness of Jason's phosphogenic energy system. This is the energy system in the body that uses the small amount of stored energy in your muscles, called ATP, to create the power needed during the first 10-ish seconds of intense activity. To do this, he'll do a series of 10-second all-out sprints, either on foot or on an Aerodyne bike. After each sprint, he'll rest for 2 to 3 minutes till he's completely recovered, so then after he can go again for another sprint at maximum effort. Next, on Sunday and Saturday mornings, Jason will work on his explosive power and max strength in the mornings, before moving on to medium state cardiovascular work at night. These medium state intervals are meant to train Jason's anaerobic energy system. This is the energy system that kicks on after the phosphogenic system peters out. And this system uses the stored sugars in your muscles called glycogen to create more ATP to power your movements for the first 2-ish minutes of more intense exercise. This medium state cardio will be used to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So he'll get his medium state cardiovascular work done by sparring, hitting the heavy bag, and grappling for about 2 to 3 minutes at a time. So that's the overview of how the Red Hood would train. But what does each workout look like? Well, you're in luck because I've created a full detailed version of this workout plan that you can use yourself, and it's completely free. Just follow the link down in the description of this video. Now you gotta go check out my video on how Daredevil would train in real life and how you can actually train to enhance your senses. I'll see you guys there.